Well, welcome, Blake. It is wonderful to have you on the podcast and just so good to see you because it's been a minute.
So many years. Too many sleep.
How many
Yeah.
has it been? I don't even.
Gosh. Se
I
7
definitely didn't see Blake since before I left for India. So I think that's 2017 for me. So we're going up on
Okay.
10 years since I feel like I've
Yeah,
actually
okay.
seen Blake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're different women now, to be honest.
We're each in our new eras here. Yeah.
It's
Okay,
wild.
so Blake, for our listeners who don't know you, could you share a little bit about yourself, both personally and professionally, so they can get to know who you are?
Yeah. I am married, which I wasn't when I last saw you guys. I have a little
So many
14 month
life changes.
yes,
Oh.
14-month-old little redhead. She keeps us busy. Her name's Maddie. I live in Atlanta. I'm from Ohio, so I always have to rep Ohio. I love children, so I've written 2 children's books, which is
Hmm.
Oh, I forgot about that. You
yeah,
did, yes.
yeah, and they're very nerdy, right? Because
Yeah,
I'm a
they're like
calculator.
about the elements, right?
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
remember the helium one.
yep,
Yes.
and
Yes!
cheer for chlorine. Oh,
Oh, I
really
remember those. I got them
yeah,
for Harper. Okay, go
Hmm.
ahead,
yes,
sorry.
yes,
Forgot.
lean into the nerdness. And then, I worked at General Mills for 11 years, where I obviously met you guys, and now I've worked at Redzone for the last 6 years, and right now I'm the VP of product management.
Awesome. Okay, so Blake, tell us when you realized kinda your moment where supply chain was the place for you and as you think about your career.
Yeah, so when I was 19, I, just finished my freshman year at school. I got an internship with Procter& and Gamble in a soap plant in the middle of nowhere in Ohio, making Tide and Downy. They make fabric softener. And I just loved manufacturing. It was really cool to be in a place where you could see physical things being made, and then I was so proud. I My mom loved it because I would come home with, like, a trunk load of laundry detergent. Uh, she's just like, "This is literally the best job." My sister was working at a bank for her internship, and it's not like she brought home money from
She
my
didn't bring
mom.
home money.
So, it was just really cool, and I was so proud to see it on the shelf and be like, "I was a part of that." And also, there's just some humanization of, I know the people who made that, and I worked with them, and we had this impact. Supply chain, yes, but manufacturing in particular, I think that there's a culture in the plant, like, right? And I just love it. Very down to earth. Like, I'm not a person who dresses up. I'm like, jeans and a polo? Yes, 1000%. I'm in. Let's go. So yeah, I just love the culture and I love the impact that I'm able to have.
So you're picking up your daughter from this fabulous daycare that we're gonna manifest for you, and you see another parent, and they're like, "What do you do?" So how do you describe kinda what you do to people that don't know a lot about supply chain or manufacturing?
Yeah, people who don't work in the industry. Yeah, it happens often. I'm sure you all have to do that as well. I think everyone understands that whatever job you do, there are tools you use, right? So when I worked at General Mills, there's BI dashboards that we review. We use PowerPoint to communicate, Excel, Microsoft Teams, whatever those things are. Turns out it's helpful for people on the shop floor to have tools as well to see, how am I performing, to learn and onboard, to enter in their quality checks, their clean, inspect, lubricate, their center lines. So all of the work that gets done on the shop floor, there used to not really be one-stop shop places for you to enter in all of that data. I work at a company that built an app. We were the first really to come to market in this connected worker space in 2013 to deliver
Mm.
that. So our mission was really to empower the front line and to really transform manufacturing by empowering that group of people. So basically an app that puts everything together.
It is really cool. I remember seeing it at a contract manufacturing facility probably 12 or 15 years ago now at this point, it seems. And at the time, I was like, it was so user intuitive. And especially because at this location, English was not the first language for the workforce. There were multiple
Mhm.
languages, and it didn't matter because the design of it, the tool itself, it was just so user intuitive, like anybody could get it and see it. So I thought that was really cool. Okay, so you talked a lot about empowering the frontline worker, which I absolutely love. I've heard you talk about continuous improvement is almost like a game, and it's a game that you want to engage like your entire workforce in. Can you
Mhm.
talk a little bit about that cultural shift of the frontline worker, and how it's actually maybe even more important than the technology itself you're using?
Absolutely. And it sounds dangerous because I work at a technology company, but it's really like technology can only get you so far. Um,
Mm,
so I don't know if you guys are runners. Do you guys like running or walking?
I'm
walking.
walking. Let's do walking.
Walking. Please,
We're both like walking.
same.
You're like
1000%. 1000%. I do not like running at all. 0 stars. Walking, I will walk 1,000,000 miles. I love it.
Yes.
So if I gifted you the fanciest treadmill that had all this technology and all these, gadgets, if you are not motivated, it will collect dust, right? Um, Technology can only get you so far. It's really the behaviors, it's the mindset. And I actually saw because I love walking, and I used to do about 10,000 steps a day, and it would vary based on the day. But think about the difference if you're in a plant and you have big Apple TVs showing where your steps are. And it's like Courtney versus Katie versus Blake, right? So we can see,
Courtney's already like, "It's on." Like,
yes,
Courtney's like, "I'm
exactly.
I
gonna
have a
win. I will
dog.
be at the
You
top
gotta
of the
catch me.
board."
100%. Let's go. Right. And imagine you're seeing in real time, and then you're huddling up, and we're like, all right, Katie's at 6,000 steps, Courtney's at 7,000, Blake's at 8,000. Katie, you're going to think, well, I'm going to think differently in these next few hours on how I can get every single step that I can. It's this friendly competition. People want to win, turns out. We had this play out in real life. There's an app called Social Steps. My family, we're very competitive. We're also insane. We did a step competition, and one day I hit 84,000 steps in a day
Yeah.
because we're crazy. Because
I
because
went
we
to the San Diego Zoo and still didn't hit
it was yeah, it was the girls versus the boys in my family,
80.
and the girls were behind. So I was like, we gotta do it. My brother, same day, because I was doing extra, over 100,000 steps. I'm like,
No.
you jerk.
What?
So the boys won for
I mean,
that
y'all
day.
must not have, like, slept, ate, or did
I'm picturing you
anything.
on a treadmill, like, eating, drinking, doing all the things you need to do
Well,
that day.
it was so not okay. I ended up having to, during this competition, get new shoes, and I had, like, purple on my feet. It was not it was too aggressive. But at the end of the day, it didn't matter if we used the app called Social Steps or a different
And I
app.
was like, "What's this app? Maybe I need it."
Yeah, yeah, exactly, right. But it's dangerous. It's very dangerous, because we could see in real time how people were performing, and that's what we do in the plant. Imagine before, you wouldn't know how many steps you had until the next day. And that's what a lot of factories do. They don't know how they performed their day until the next day versus now in real time I can make differences. So and we of course have different huddles and routines and forms that we implement in our coaching program, but that's really what makes a difference and the change in the mindset and making it this game and friendly competition. Turns out people want to win. And even just you're competing against yourself. We've seen that that really just has a big impact.
I love, just how real you make it into like, what like, 'cause we had someone and I think simplicity is the key. We had, a previous guest, Vina, who we talked about her software, and when me and Katie and I were talking to her, we're like, "Wow, it's just really simple," and I think sometimes we think the answer has to be super complicated, and it's like, if it's simple, people will use it. It's the behaviors side of things. I did feel very, like, seen and semi-judged, like, I had the Peloton during, COVID that had, like, clothes on it because 'cause I'm not even a biker, I hate
Yeah.
it, and I was
Yes.
just like, "Oh, this sounds like a smart thing to do," and then I realized, like, "Why did I do this?"
100%. Yeah. Because yeah, Pelotons, we have one too. And yeah, and you're like, oh,
And
what
they're
place?
lovely.
don't wanna look at what place I'm in.
Right,
And yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Okay, so Blake, you spent, as you said, over a decade at General Mills in the trenches of granola bar and cereal production. Katie and
yeah.
I are intimately aware of that as well. So, what was the moment on the plant floor that eventually led you to the world of software and product management, like where you are today?
Yeah, I think if you were to talk to me 10 years ago and you said, Blake is going to be over product in this technology company, no, I'm not. I'm a chemical engineer. That doesn't make sense. Why would I ever do that? And it was really the same thing that brought me to manufacturing that led me on this path because it's all about impact. And I think as most people grow in their career, the amount of impact they have grows over time because you just see, oh, I could do more with this. This is really exciting. And it kind of goes from me being a supervisor, focus on my team of 28, folks making cereal to then, well, how do I lead more? Well, let me be the CI leader of the factory. And then I was an internal consultant, and I worked with both of you all when I was an internal consultant at General Mills. I went to probably 30 different General Mills factories during that time. And I loved seeing like every plant is a little bit different, their culture, how they use CI, even though we have standards, there's some things that are nuanced between one and another. And then I saw this opportunity at Red Zone, and it was not really me focusing on the technology, but focusing on, oh, now I can see companies outside of General Mills. It could be a really small mom and pop shop to factories that make motorcycles or, I supported Nestle Purina. They're very similar culture to General Mills. But to see all of these different factories and organizations, and then over time after doing that for a while, it's like, well, if I lead product and go into this area, I can impact the product that over 500,000 frontline workers use. So I think it
That's
just
so cool.
continued to
Hmm.
grow and see how the decisions that I make have this impact on this broader scale.
So, talking about impact, in your current role, well, actually, in your previous role, and I guess it leads into this product one too. Redzone talks a lot about like this 90-day productivity leap. And so, what is it about that time frame that you think is special, and like how do you make something stick um, within 90 days when, again, like you're kind of coming in because so many others have tried before and it just didn't seem to work.
Yeah, absolutely. You all are like me and both don't like running. Imagine I said, Katie, Courtney, we're all going to do a marathon in 3 years. Like, oh, and then it also feels like 3 years is so far away. Don't we really need to do something today? Eh, like, we'll ease into it, and it's just like, and then in a year, I'm like, "But do I really wanna do that marathon? Like, is that still
Say
on the
no.
table?" Yeah, 100%. No, sounds terrible. 'Cause I do not like running, so it sounds just unfathomable. Like, I can't no. There's no world that I can do a marathon. Um we at Red Zone have this like crawl, walk, run approach. And it's so that we can establish right behaviors and we don't really focus on that marathon in the future. We focus on what can we do in 90 days. I did, if you guys have heard, I did the Couch to 5K program. It's an
I love
app.
Look
that
at that.
program.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
Love
that.
it. Loved it. Turns out week one, you run at most 30 seconds. Okay. I can do that. And even I struggled a little bit at that, but I was like, I can do that. And it works your way up so that you have um, the right cadence of finally getting to that time where I'm like, oh man, now I do need to run for 30 minutes straight.
Mm,
And then it gets me, but it made it so I was able to accomplish. I did the color run, which was
love the
really
color
Oh,
run.
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I
Love
did
to
that 5.
watch it. Like, I don't wanna run. 'Cause don't they
Yeah,
just
it
throw it at you?
yeah, they do throw it at
Yeah.
you, and, you need to bring a change of clothes because you're just covered in color, but it is pretty fun, but
I
they
did
should
the
also
couch to the half marathon. It was still very painful, but
but you
yeah,
did it.
I did it. I don't need
You
to
did
do
it.
any. I did a couple, then, like, I don't need everyone's like, "Are you gonna do a marathon?" I was like,
Yeah,
"I'm good."
terrifying. Yeah, and what we've done at Red Zone is we've taken each module is 90 days. So you start with our productivity module and then you go to compliance. But when we're coaching compliance in, we're adding things over time, like the ability to complete quality checks, things like that. But we're still honing in on the behaviors for productivity and the same thing for reliability and the same thing for learning. And after you have our entire suite, we still offer similar to what we did at Redzone, where we do kind of health checks. We would still offer coaching so that we can make sure that all of the routines and capabilities are still kind of honed in so that now we're at that phase of crawl, walk, run that we can continue to add on. And okay, now that you guys are consistently doing these things, these have stuck. What else can we add to this to make you go even further?
I love that. So you talked about kind of quality checks, and so you've helped a lot of plants go fully paperless. So beyond the saving trees sustainability, how does digitizing quality checks, safety observations change the speed of decision making for like a site manager, for example?
Yeah, absolutely. So I supported pretty earlier on when I was coaching, I supported a site in Texas. And the person who was over quality, she would review all of the paperwork. Imagine I give you 100 paper quality checks and said, Courtney, Katie, how many have failed? It would take you a while to be within that, maybe hours, especially if I said how many missed. That's really tricky. I don't know if you're going to actually be able to capture that. But with Red Zone, it instantly in 2 seconds, you can see that because it manages by exception. It kind of brings those to the surface and you can see, did we take the right action? We can even automate and say, if this fails, then do a recheck, then do a 5Y, and it will automatically trigger it to your operator. And it will do it, maybe you need to have this check every hour. So it'll automatically kind of help mistake proof your system. Um, so I think it's really just the speed. So now as a leader, instead of focusing on those 100 paper checks, I'm able to focus on the 3 that failed. And that specifically did play out for her name was Andrea, who was over quality. She was a single mom and she was not able to bring those quality checks home. So if she was working late, she told me one day, she's like, yeah, yesterday I had to work until 10 p.m. because I was behind and I had to go through all the paperwork. And there were just several that were failed. And she said, I missed my daughter's basketball game. And that was when they only had productivity. But then I launched compliance, and she was like, this is just a game changer personally, because instead of 2 days later trying to track down people who didn't do the right thing in real time, she can see this check was failed. They completed the corrective action that was sent and things like that. So I think it just changes the outlook for managers, for operations leaders, because they have access to information in real time as opposed to days later when they're trying to hunt down somebody from a quality check in the past.
I love that so much. I just think it speaks to when you can improve, like, you're not just improving life on the floor, you're even improving life at home, right?
Absolutely.
So getting out of there on time, but also, like, even if somebody's, like, on the clock and they have to clock out, it's, like, that's still weighing on you, like, you're gonna have to get to it
Mhm.
the next day, it's there, um, it's a stressor, instead of thinking through, like, you could actually be helping somebody problem solve and figure out, like, well, why are we missing these? And coaching someone rather than trying to, like, just, like, comb through piles and piles of paper. I think that's such a great story.
Mhm.
Okay.
It's just not fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. Like, that's not what people wanna go to work like, no, it's not what I wanna go to work for. Yeah.
Yeah.
So as you're thinking about technology and coaching, now that you're over on the product side, how do you figure out, like, this is where the software should end, and this is now where, like, we need actually humans still to be
Mm.
involved here and to coach? How do you figure out what that right balance is?
Yeah. I want to cover off on our product principles first because you all mentioned actually the power of simplicity.
Mm.
So that's one of our principles. The first is we need to be solving a problem. So whenever we have anything on our roadmap, the first thing is what problem are we solving? Because if we can't answer that, why are we building this feature? This does not make sense just, to check the box. Then we say, is it simple? You would be surprised how many conversations I have just on trying to reduce the number of clicks. There's one feature we came out with that we call internally two tap scrap. And it's because we were able to take this process that would happen often, is basically saying, hey, we have waste in specific industries. And now, instead of having multiple clicks, they only have two taps, right? And which seems small, but it's something that people were doing constantly in our
Yeah.
application. So
Yeah, no,
we want
things
it
are
to be
buzzing
simple.
on the floor. Yeah, you've gotta, like, be on it. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be complex. So every time we try to think, how do we make this really simple? We want it to be scalable. So some softwares will have unique, so like I have a unique software that goes to General Mills, something different that goes to a different organization because they're small. We don't do that. Every organization of our, almost 2,000 factories across the globe have Red Zone. Now, yes, there are some things that you can cater because this is a specific manufacturing location and this is step, assembly. But at the end of the day, it's the same product. So we need it to be scalable. Turns out we have factories that use Red Zone that have 50 employees, one shift operation, very simple. And we have factories that have 3,600 employees, 24/7 operations, right? Our product will not be used the same in those two organizations. It
Mm,
just won't.
mhm.
And that's where people come in. There are nuances. Even at every General Mills facility, we know it's a little bit different. So how you communicate may be different if you only have two people that have iPads in the plant, just by how you're set up, versus I supported one of the Nestle Purina sites. Every single employee of their 500 employees had an iPad. How you're going to use Redzone is different. So all of those things, their goals, their culture, we really need to meet people where they are. Same thing with the Couch to 5K. It's like some people were starting at the couch, struggling running, 30 seconds at a time. But some people maybe were okay running. They maybe could start at week 4 versus week 1, right? We really try to meet people where they are. And that's where the coaching comes in to see how are they using the product. We have agendas, but they're flexible, right? Hey, you really struggled with these routines. So we're going to actually hit on those again this week where others we might pass over.
And so, like you talked about productivity, we all are looking to do better that way in OEE, but you also focus a lot on retention. So, can you
Yeah,
talk about how a connected worker solution to help solve the problem of kind of, I think all companies have seen, we're just not there's people retiring, but people aren't staying like they used to, especially
yeah,
in kind of F&B, CPG. I think it's across the board. So how do you see that solution helping solve that problem?
absolutely. So first I'll say in 2013 we started with our productivity module. So that's what we've had the longest amount of time. And then in 2015 we had compliance. So those were kind of our core for many years. Turns out if you, what I call turn the lights on, you actually know how you're performing. So we talk about the step competition. If you don't know how many steps you've made until the next day, makes it difficult. But if I know in real time, I'm gonna walk a little bit, the longer route to the break room or something like that to get additional steps. So just that turning the lights on capability and ability and some of those efficiencies, that helps people have that winning mentality. I know how I'm doing. I know that I'm getting better. We did a benchmark report. We saw turnover go down just by implementing Red
Mm,
Zone productivity and compliance. So that I think was a step change in improvement. Then, as the years go on, Red Zone, we're very connected in our Red Zone community, is what we call them, the folks who use Red Zone. We're saying, hey, what are the problems that you all are facing now? And they were just like, it's a revolving door. People will come in,
Mm.
they might stay 90 days until they get their, some incentive for staying 90 days, and then they will leave for 50 cents more down the road. Like, kept happening. And then on top of that, you have this situation where 100,000 baby boomers are retiring every single day.
Yep.
And they're leaving with all of this information that they've
Mhm.
had 40 years that they've worked in the plant. So people were really struggling. So we basically sat down with some of our Red Zone community and said, well, what are the typical problems that you have? And it was things like onboarding, information. So you could have binders and things at the engineer's desk. And So all of these things kind of helped us create our learning module. And our learning module is centered around the employee experience, starting from day one, but throughout someone's career. And that was kind of my one of my babies at Redzone. So I helped build the product, but then I also would share it with customers and go on site and kind of see where they were, kind of meet them where they are, and here's how you could use our software. So you guys have worked with me. I'm not a big crier, pretty happy, pretty positive person. I cried at work for the first time in my life and the last time, hopefully. Uh, I went
Tears
to
are
this
okay.
factory. Yeah, tears are okay, I guess. I went to this factory, and it's in the middle of nowhere in Ohio, and I can say that I'm from Ohio. I still love Ohio, and it was this factory that made all this produce, huge plant. And when I talked to them, 'cause they were interested in the learning module, they said, "Well, 90% of our new people start in the onion room." I said, "Okay, interesting," because they make like the Wendy's baked potatoes. That's pretty big. I feel like that's their bread and butter, their baked potatoes. And they have all this other produce, but 90% of the new people start there. I said, okay, well, I'm going to lean in. Let's go to the onion room. Walk in. Immediately when I cross the threshold, I'm crying and
My gosh.
it's terrible. And I'm trying to take videos because we have videos in the learning module. And then when we finish, I go out back to the conference room. And I was like, 90% of your new people here. And they're
You're
like,
like, "This might be impacting your
yeah.
turnover."
Okay, so what do you do before, like, you go on the floor into the to cry, right? And I said, "Oh, well, we try to get them to the floor as quickly as possible because, a lot of folks don't end up staying." I said, "Okay, cool. Um, how long do people usually last?" And they're like, "Oh, most people don't make it to their first break. Some people don't make it 30 minutes." I was like, "1,000." Said, "So what have you guys done thus far to focus on retention?" They're like, "Oh, we actually hired somebody and their job was completely to focus on retention." I said, "Oh, how has that gone?" "Oh, that person quit within a week." I was like, That great. That checks out." So I said, "Fantastic." So anyways, long story short, they ended up implementing the Red Zone Learning module using it. Um, on LinkedIn, I'm connected to one of the people who I met there. Her name's Leslie. She posted on LinkedIn saying they had a 60% reduction in 90 days of turnover. And let me tell you, I go to a lot of plans and would, help show them learning module. Never did I cry on the shop floor, except for that one case, because you're mass producing sliced onions for food service. So it's hard at home with one onion. Um, but it was so insane for me to see that impact with a plant that it's like, man, it's rough conditions. But turns out if you it's the software, but it's the coaching. If you lean in to say, okay, how can I make this the best experience, best employee experience to empower people, to connect people, to get them prepared before they hit the shop floor, the impact that it can have. And that factory actually, the company is called RS Handline. They ended up having a Red Zone event where they hosted. I went to tell other people, their prospects about Red Zone, and their COO said, that turnover was the lowest that it has been in the 15 years that he's been there. And like that is just really cool to see
Wow.
the impact that people can have, even in a place where you would think, man, Blake was crying and freezing. They can make that a great place to work.
Hey, I love that, and I love to it's one of those things too where I'm like, "Wow, if you can make it work there
Anywhere.
like, you can go to a lot of different places then." Yes, I
Yes.
have never even thought about, but you're right. You gotta get that onion diced by someone somewhere,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you every time you go to fast food and you have sliced onions, it's probably from RS Handline.
Okay,
And yeah,
you're thinking about that.
yeah.
Alright, so what do you think about? Because I get so excited about connected worker and the potential that's there. Because I think it could have such an impact on somebody's life at work, which I think then expands to like you're not you're a whole person, right? So whether you want to choose to believe it or not, maybe like work bleeds in to life at home bleeds into life at work, right? And so if you can make work a more engaging place to be, I just think it has this positive like ripple effect everywhere else. So as you think about like maybe the next 5 years, How do you see things like AI, wearable tech? Like, do you see that becoming more mainstream? Like, what do you see is like the next, like, this is going to accelerate over the next few years for frontline workers? And then how do you even think about like what is your vision for like the factory of the future and how far away is that?
Yeah, absolutely. It will be mainstream. I think if we were to go back in time and think about, was the internet going to be mainstream? Are people going to use that technology? Um, yes. And if you don't, you probably won't be relevant. I think of Blockbuster versus Netflix. Like,
Mm,
Blockbuster did not, they were just like, we're fine. We're fine. People will always go get movies like this. They don't have the vision of the future. So for me, absolutely, when it's going to be mainstream, and I think the companies that lean in earlier will be more successful. Um, the role of the operator, how does that change? Well, often I think companies have operators solving yesterday's problems. With
mm,
Redzone, we always focused on today's problems, like trying to solve those in real time. But with AI, it's solving problems before they even happen. Like we are living in the future, people. And if you think about the power and the difference between an operator that doesn't have all of these tools kind of in their back pocket, which is what I see as AI having all this information, they're just not going to be as productive as those who do have that. How many times in the plant, it's 3 a.m. on a Saturday night, we have an issue and we're like, we've seen this before, but we don't remember what we did because it was 4 years ago and it was a different shift that had it happen. And then you hope in the logbook or something you can find that information. With AI, we have the benefit of data. So I think about Red Zone. We talk about this connected worker space. We have information on all of the training in the plant, every CIL, every center line, every defect that's entered, every breakdown, all the downtime, any notes. So if you have context that you want to add from years and years of using Red Zone, well, that now can be searched through just like you would ask Chat GPT a
yeah.
question, your personal life. But this is a specialist for manufacturing.
Hmm.
Now, and ours is called Champion AI. We can ask questions about what can I do to solve web failures? And it can look back and see, well, 60% of the time, this is the action you took. And here's a training to complete this. And it's just the power is endless to putting all of the expertise, safety, quality, operations, maintenance in the back pocket of every frontline employee, starting with their first day having access to that. So I think that companies that use AI, that use things like wearables, are just going to be next level accelerated as far as what their performance, what their
Mhm.
safety results, what their quality results
Mm.
can be. And this like factory of the future will really transform to just being the best tools to help the operator. I still very much think that you cannot replace the eyes, ears, hands, heart of every operator, but man, we can give them the best tool set to really perform effectively and think proactively about what I can do to prevent this breakdown, what I can do to prevent this quality issue that's coming, to really make sure that they're best in class.
That,
Appreciate how you call out, there's some intangibles about, like, heart, I think, intuitive thinking, like, things that I think will be really hard to replicate, especially, like, people's experience, like, so I appreciate you calling that out. Okay,
Absolutely.
so now we're gonna switch to more of our fun kind of advice questions. So, Katie and I both have seen you as a leader, and you are known for leading, inspiring, orchestrating teams across opportunities. In an industry in manufacturing, it can
Mm,
be physically and mentally exhausting, as we've all experienced. So,
yeah.
how do you personally refuel your own tank so you can continue to show up as high energy leader that Katie and I know you to be?
Yeah, absolutely. I love me a spa day. Okay. I
ah!
I think it's helpful. I think you need it to just like unplug completely. There's a spa called Jeju Spa. Shout out to Jeju.
I love Jeju.
I
Yes.
love it. I love it. There's all these saunas, you can get massages. They do this one exfoliating thing that I feel like my skin afterwards is like as smooth as a baby's bottom. Um, 10 out of 10. But yeah, I think that everyone needs that. For me, I love walking, not running, walking as well, to really think about things differently, just to get a little break. But I think it's just knowing what you like to do to unplug and calling it out, because all of us get stressed in manufacturing, tech, in anything. So just making sure that we can kind of refuel.
I agree. It's like making the time for it too, 'cause sometimes I think it's like the first thing to cut because you're like, I'm so busy, but it compounds. And it's like, I
Yeah.
just, and I do, if I take that 20 minutes for a walk, I am like a new person
Saw
afterwards.
this thing that it said you should put all your fun and joy on the schedule first, because
Mm,
otherwise it won't happen. Because everything else is gonna happen
it
anyway.
is going to have
I
to
was like,
happen.
"That's
Yeah.
such a
Yeah.
good" to, like, just put it on there before you start scheduling the
Yeah.
things that you're not that are just gonna schedule themselves in.
I feel like when you're in the trenches, you're just so focused on that, but sometimes you're just not as effective yourself. Now my role is it's obviously different than manufacturing, but we'll be working on really strategic designs for
Mm,
how our application will evolve in the future. And sometimes folks on my team will be like, "Oh, I've been working on this for 3 hours," and I'll just recommend, "Hey, one person on my team, David, he loves biking, so like just go on a ride, go on like a 2 hour ride, and then come back to it." And he just comes back so much more refreshed and effective. It's like
yeah.
you're happy because you got to do this fun thing that you enjoy, and now you have a new perspective, you come with fresh eyes to look at things.
Okay. Looking back at your career, those many years in the trenches and so on, if you were going to mentor a young woman who's entering the workforce today, specifically in manufacturing or broader supply chain, what is maybe one, call it an unfiltered truth, that you would tell her that maybe she wouldn't learn in her undergrad program?
So, I feel like we just live in this male-dominated industry, right? I think it's easy to feel almost like the second-class citizen, that you're lucky to be a part of this industry, and kind of blend in, but really to lean against that. I think as I've grown in my career, I found that being myself, the person who loves spas, loves massages, I love tea, I don't drink alcohol, I don't like fishing or sports or golf or things like that. And at first I thought like, but you have to kind of blend in and be this person to fit in and succeed. But I found over time people really appreciate you just being you. And sometimes I'll even make it funny. I'll be like, oh yeah, how was the sports game this weekend? Did they play? Did the teams play? Right. But being okay with that. I think of I don't think either of you guys know this story, but when I was in undergrad, I studied chemical engineering. Turns out back in the day, women were not engineers. So the building that we had as our chemical engineering building, it didn't have women's restrooms. So they had to yeah, so
That
sad.
wasn't that far back in the day, though.
That
Exactly.
far
I'm not that
back.
old. I'm not that old. I graduated college in 2004. It's not like this was 1920.
No.
Wow.
And so they had 4 floors in our chemical engineering building. 2 of them, they kind of retrofitted into women's restrooms. So the one that we used most often had 2 restrooms, but one of them used to be a urinal, clearly. So one of them was a normal stall. They removed the urinal, thank you, but put a toilet seat. But instead of, I don't know, putting a door,
I was like, "But
we had a shower curtain. And I know what you're thinking, Blake. Wow, you must have gone to a really underfunded school. I went to Ohio State University. And you're thinking, oh, Blake, they probably updated it while you're in school. No, the entire time that I was in school there, we had a shower curtain. Some women like would just refuse to use that. We would wait for the stall. It was a whole thing. But I think as I went into what transitioned from college to working in manufacturing, it felt similar where it's just like, you just don't really belong here and just don't say anything. Like, be happy that you have a bathroom.
Mm.
And of course, back at Ohio State, I never would have said anything to faculty or anything like that. Be like, hey, maybe we should give
Get a
us a
door.
door.
Get a door.
A door, not a shower curtain that, moves back and forth. Um, but I think over time, I've been able to kind of get my voice and stand up for what I think is right and not try to, I want to lean in, but I don't want to blend in. And I think that's the message
I
is
love that.
women, just don't be yourself. And I found over time now as a leader, I'm sure you all serve as this as well in your industries, is that other women are really appreciative of me being me and understanding that you're a working mom. No one says working dad, they just say working mom. But
So
understanding,
true.
like, yeah, understanding that you are who you are and you bring all these great things to the table.
Thing I love all your stories. I have also realized men appreciate flexibility, and like I do think me prioritizing certain things gives my team more comfort and power to say, like, I had a conversation with someone the other day, and they were like, I really, this travel's really like, I want to see my kids more and whatever. And I'm like, well, do that. Cause like I'm prioritizing my child. You should too, So I do think we can be good examples overall for men and women because a lot of men do want the same things we want. They just maybe don't feel that they can verbalize it or live it out differently. So I do think that helps, like, to
Mm.
just to be in the full you, and I think you've probably learned as Kate I learned, I'm just too tired and too old to be something different, so this is it. And someone was
Yeah,
like, "Is it really hard to do this?" I'm like, "Nope, I don't curse at work." That's pretty much the only thing that's probably, like, different, and so like, that's probably the biggest change, but other than that, like, that's all I got, and that's okay.
yeah, yeah. I think you just be you, and people will appreciate it. Like that's people value diversity and like different ideas, different perspectives, and just it's very boring if everyone loved golf, loved sports, loved fishing. That's all they want to talk about and do. Yeah.
Thank you, Blake, this has been amazing. Like, so good to
It
Been
was
see.
so good.
so good catching up with you guys.
You have, like, the best stories, like, this might be, like, one of the best
So many good ones in here.
oh, good story. I'm like, "I'm getting this social step, Katie, be ready."
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know you
Social
get a lot
stuff.
of steps, so I don't know, this will be hard.
Yeah. It can be intense.
Wait,
Yeah. My husband, he does not believe the bathroom story. He's like, no, not
I mean,
Ohio.
That's funny.
especially that it's, like, Ohio State, which is
Yeah.
very well funded
Mhm.
in many, many ways.
100%.
I
Yeah.
mean, even
For
my
sure.
double E building had bathrooms, like, and that was double E. There was only, like, 5 of us. Like, they still accommodated that.
Yeah. I mean,
So,
we had bathrooms. It was just a toilet seat with a shower
yeah, no,
curtain.
we had, like, a
That's
real
wild.
stall.
Like, that's
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
I had that at the brewery, but not at school.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was so bad.